Hello, what is good YouTube? I am here for a special kind of video. I want to talk about Bloblobber in this video, why the changes it had aren't necessarily ruinous for it, but also why there is such a huge decline in the Blob player base, and why even after all the changes that I'm going to talk about, I still plan to play Bloblobber. Starting off, let's cover the changes. Specifically, the nerfs. Because, actually, let's cover the buffs. That one's going to be faster to do. So, there's two buffs that I want to point out. The first one, that connects. In Splatoon 2, if you're moving fast towards a target, your fourth blob would sometimes just phase through your target. Well, phase through, if you're moving fast and you were too close to your target. It now always connects as long as you're hitting directly. This is nice because it just means Blob is more consistent in this degree. The second buff is just a really small shot speed increase. It's barely noticeable, but it's there, and it is nice to have over the span of a long match. However, let's get into some nerfs now because Blob got two. The first one, if you haven't noticed, Blob's trail is now thinner. It also still follows by the same rule of only paints before the first bounce, and they might have actually increased this and decreased the bounces, which I think is really cool. They did that. I'm not going to say they did it, though, because I don't really have proof of it. But let's talk about the two big ones that are actually the reason why the Blob player base right now is mostly decreasing heavily. I just showed it off briefly, but Blob's fourth blob has some problems. In general, they decreased the size of Blob's shots. In 2, they were absurdly massive. And even shots like this would get like one blob to hit. Now you have to actually be closer to your target when you aim. But even shots like this, the fourth blob is so small that it is likely to just whiff. Like that. If you actually want all 4 blobs to hit now, you have to be more dead on than usual. And when I say more dead on, I mean really more dead on. This is something I hope gets fixed. Not because of this, however. I do think the fourth blob should not have too much of a size increase, but I do feel like it should have some form. Because it's just awkward right now the way it is. You can still guarantee a full volley if you're close enough. But it, not just close enough, but like, you know, I mean, you don't have to be close. You just gotta like actually hit all 4, like dead center. You're fine. But another weird quirk that Blob has, I didn't do it that time, huh? Like that. There you go. Blob can just do that now, and that's kind of annoying. So yeah, that was one of the 2 problems that got Blob players off the weapon. The other one, if you haven't noticed, on the top right of your screen, is the other reason. So, there's a lot of weapons in this game whose kits are just a mixture of their 2 kits from Splatoon 2, or 2 parts of their Splatoon 2's set of 3 kits. The devs, however, didn't stop and question whether that was a good idea. Some of these weapons are not very pleased with the combos they got. Bloblobber is one of them. There were 2 defining playstyles in Bloblobber in Splatoon 2. Both of these styles relied on parts of Blob that were unique to each kit. The Splash Wall from Vanilla, and the Suction Rush from Gecko. Neither are present in Splatoon 3. All of this combined leads to already a very unfamiliar thing for Blob players, meaning they have to relearn things. On top of this, Blob just feels different in this game. And I somehow got used to it very fast. Before my first match, the person I was playing with still had to go through their first match so that we could join up, because you can't join people if you've not played one game on your own in Turf War. During this time, I was in the training room, and I could tell very quickly it was still Bloblobber, but it felt different. And I asked other blobs and some other people, like, hey, does this weapon feel different to you? And they're like, yeah. All this combined leaves Blob players feeling alienated from a weapon they played a lot of, because Blob players, well, if you played Blob, you played it a lot. And yeah, it's something. All these added up to a lot of Blob players are actually moving on from the weapon. In fact, of the people who joined me for the Bloblobber video I made in Splatoon 2, I am the only one who still plays the weapon, or intends to play it in competitive. I would not doubt that they still plan to play it for fun from time to time, but as far as competitive concerned, I'm the only one of those people who still plays Bloblobber. So, this doesn't mean I'm the only one. And thank God, because I don't want to be Blob's #1 rep undeservingly. I'm not actually Blob's best rep right now. That credit goes to a player known as Isaac, who's a lot more of a defensive Blob, which got hit really, really bad in the transition due to, like, the changes. I used to think there was going to be 3, but then Nico, yeah, Nico's not keeping up. Nico and Isaac, by the way, are, like, 2 of the premier anchor Blobs. The reason I didn't have them along for the video is because I just couldn't get in contact with them easily. And what Nico plans to drop it because it no longer fits the comp that they want to run on their team, which, fair. The nerfs that happened to Blob heavily impact what they want to run, the Carbon Blob combo. Players like Pika and Skep just aren't taking well to the lack of Splash Wall and the other changes on Bloblobber. A lot of other, like, low-level / mid-level Blobs just aren't liking the feel of Blob anymore. So, that remains 2 Blobs in comp I'm aware of currently. There is me, and there is Isaac. And, ironically, both styles of Blob are still being played. However, my style has been refined a lot. Mainly because I've had to. The 2 sides of Blob right now are simply a long-range pressure tool, long-range, like, chip support, / just trying to poke people from far away and see if you can finish them off, or attempt to get a 4 burst from far away. You can still do stuff close range, but you likely want to just avoid things being too close to you right now. Not just because of Blob changes, just because, like, general system changes make it harder for Blob to fight up close, because most weapons are better at fighting up close now than they were in 2. Which means Blob can't do that as reliably. Which is fair, because, well, Blob should not be better at fighting up close than other close-range weapons. But yeah. So, I guess the real question is, what is the difference that brought me and Isaac to still playing Blob, whereas players like Pika and Skep and, like, Nico dropped it? Well, to put it bluntly, Nico dropped it because comp reasons. But I'm saying, like, oh, they dropped it because it's not good for comp. Like, the team composition they want to run does not fit Blob anymore. Like, their weapon pool is built on based on each other, which is it's a fair way to kind of decide your mains. But yeah, that's kind of like from what I've heard Nico's reasoning. Pika saw Blob's kit and did not think was assuming it was going to be not as good, and decided they wanted to look into other weapons, and they have found stuff they really like, and I am looking forward to seeing what they do with it. Skep was very hesitant the moment they saw this kit as well, and ended up finding another weapon they enjoy. They probably both still use... all the Blob players are probably still going to use it for fun from time to time, just as far as competitive is concerned, they now have a new weapon they're looking at. So that brings me to me and Isaac. Me, the mid-level, more aggressive Blob, and Isaac, the high/top level. I don't know which Isaac is considered currently. Blob, who's a lot more on the supportive and defensive front. What in the world is the reason why we still play our weapon? Well, I can't speak for Isaac. I don't know his reasoning. But if I had to guess, Isaac has not had the highest opinion of Blob at all times. I just think Isaac is just really, really comfortable on Blob, and that comfort is something that helps him a lot in his play. And it's not bad to feel comfortable with a weapon. If you're comfortable with a weapon, it's worth playing. It's still worth trying new things and learning to see if maybe there are other options, but if those other options aren't as comfortable after you give them a genuine try and actually learn them, then there's no harm in just going to what's comfortable so long as it keeps, doing the job. This is the same logic I employ, actually, where no other weapon gets the job done for me like Blob does. And even through the nerfs, it's still Blob at the end of the day, and it still does the stuff I want it to do. It's just harder to do, which I don't mind. I just have to get better. And another big thing is that as a player, I will play better if I'm having a good time. Recently, I've been having a kind of fall in comp where I've been very inconsistent in how I've been playing. And after doing a lot of editing, I noticed that my play when I'm just having a good time versus when I'm just trying to play good, trying to do the right plays and all that is significantly worse. I just noticed I play so much better when I'm having a good time. And I've kind of decided in Splatoon 3 that I'm going to just learn at the rate I learn and improve at the rate I do. I'm not going to force things. I'm just going to continue to just have a good time, Because, if fully tryharding isn't going to be it for me, then I'm not going to force it. I'll try my best, but I'm going to continue to just have fun and do my thing. I still do want to improve a lot, and it's definitely something that's going to keep on my mind, but I really am just planning to focus more on just reminding myself not to overthink and all that, because it was one of my biggest problems in 2, and I don't want it to follow into 3. And yeah. So in reality, I'm just sticking with it because I feel comfortable on it. And one of the most exciting things for me is that even if Blob ended up being a good weapon in this game, I wanted to push it further. It being considered what it is now just is another reason for me to want to push it, to show people that, hey, this weapon's different, not bad. Now, I'm not claiming that it's better than it was in 2. It's not. This thing is definitely worse off than it was in Splatoon 2. But from my experience so far, it doesn't feel like a bad weapon. And at some point, I'll make a video covering it. I don't want to make that now because I, one, don't feel comfortable enough, like, fully explaining Blob, because there's still things I want to blab with it. I want to make sure that I understand it better. I want to get a better feel for how it feels playing in a competitive environment, not just in ranked and with a duo queue. And I also just want to get more familiarized with how this kit functions. But yeah. And if you're wondering about gear, in case you want to just try and mimic what I'm doing currently, whenever I'm not concerned about gear, I'm running something like this. Just a lot of swim speed, some sub saver because I want to like play around with sprinkler a bit more. But most of the time, I'm just leveling up some kind of gear. I've also run a lot of this whenever I was actually just trying to adjust the things, just think less about ink efficiency. But I have an idea what I want to do when I get a proper build. I don't want to spoil that yet. Actually, I've already posted on Twitter, probably. I have. Yeah. Oh well. Anyways, that's gonna be it for now. I'm gonna just, I'm gonna keep experimenting, and once I'm ready, I'll be making a video properly on Bloblobber, talking about how to play it and all that. But yeah. Anyways, thank you all for watching. If you did enjoy, feel free to leave a like, and comment how you feel about Bloblobber in this game. And if you want to see more about Bloblobber in the meantime, you can go give me a follow on Twitter, where I'll be posting a lot about stuff about Bloblobber, because I just love this weapon. And go check me out on Twitch, because I will be streaming. Actually, I'm streaming as soon as I'm done recording this. And I do stream a lot of Bloblobber, but I'm also streaming other weapons because I want to get tickets, But yeah. Anyways, see you guys in the next video.